Stay tuned to the end of this video for a word to our patrons. Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Sing FGO 1TED, the show where we let you know if you want to roll that 5-star. I hope you're ready to dance the dance of desire today because we have a heck of a show for you. We're going to be looking at a new SSR caster today, a limited unit, who's going to bring the wild world of Quick to the stage, Izumo-no-Okuni. If this is your first wanted, we're going to talk a servant's real-life history and folklore, their lore with a capital L in the Fate universe, their mechanics, and more. So everybody strap in. Have your programs ready. So today, we're going to be talking about Izumo-no-Okuni, or Okuni of Izumo, a shrine maiden, Miko, and entertainer who is largely credited with the establishing of Kabuki theater, one of Japan's classical performing arts. Now, like a lot of people from these time periods, we don't have meticulous record-keeping here, so it's generally known, a common knowledge fact, that she was born somewhere around 1578, and was born somewhere in the Izumo province, obviously, presumably near Izumo Grand Shrine, where her father was a blacksmith. So her father and other members of her family are believed to have worked at the shrine, which is one of the major shrines in Japan, and so eventually Okuni became a Miko there, shrine maiden, known for handling various tasks about the temple. And she was known not only for her good looks, but for her ability to dance and act at the time. So even before some more theatrical performances, she was well known as a performer. Now, at this time, it was customary to send the staff of a shrine to the capital to try and scrape up donations. Not only do you get donations from your locals, but you know, we'd go out to big places and be like, hey, we're a really important shrine, you should give us some money. And so Okuni ended up sent to Kyoto, the capital at the time, and there she became known for her performances of folk dances and skits, which were often rife with sexual innuendo or comedy. So, obviously, she would perform, religious effects, but also attracted attention through normal performing arts. Like I said, folk dances, comedic skits, short bits. Now, she eventually began to grow more popular and start drawing crowds, which did lead to her being summoned back to Izumo, but Okuni did not listen to this and stayed in Kyoto, though she did keep sending money back to the shrine regularly, as far as historians know. Now, sometime in 1603, no exact dates given, Okuni began performing her works in the dry riverbed of the Shijogahara, and in other places like the Kitano Shrine, and Okuni did her performing with a troupe. She formed her troupe of exclusively women, especially women who were outcasts or otherwise not in with society, including prostitutes, but also just generally women of a lower social standing who were available, but had talent. This became popular enough that other all-female troupes began to be formed, especially in brothels as part of the entertainment package. And in general, this new style of performing became known as Onna Kabuki, women's kabuki, or Okuni Kabuki. That's right, they named it after her. Now, interestingly enough, we do not know the exact etymology of kabuki. It is written with kanji that could translate as the art of singing and dancing, but this is probably a modern allusion. It's not necessarily literally how it was interpreted back in the day. And so it's probably related to the verb kabuku, which means to lean or to be out of the ordinary. So kabuki could also basically be translated as the rough Japanese equivalent to the phrase avant-garde. And you may have heard of this before, because we've discussed Nobunaga on this channel, but it might be directly related to the Kabuki Mono subculture, which were basically samurai delinquents or gangsters. The name often translates to the crazy ones. So there's a few different possible etymologies. We're not exactly sure which one is used. In Okuni's style of kabuki, female players played both male roles and female roles. It was known for short comedic bits about ordinary folks that used drama, music, and dance all together. There were revolutionary new shamisen music pieces to go with it. There was singing, dancing, and just spoken word. And also, her style was considered pretty crass and raunchy, but also very colorful, very beautiful. High on the ephemera, the mono no ware. Kabuki was popular with a wide variety of social classes. Okuni herself performed before the ladies of the imperial court, but it was popular enough with merchants and was also performed in red light districts in Kyoto. And in general, Kabuki was seen as a pretty big deal around the time. It very quickly took off, and the performances would often last from morning until dusk. There were tea houses and shops around the theaters offering refreshments and souvenirs during intermissions, And the Kabuki theaters were full of socializing and their own kinds of drama. Competition for, the favor of the best actresses, competition for roles, generally getting, smashed on sake at noon, the works. Now, interesting enough, this is a note that will be relevant later and is in the historical record, Okuni's performances often involved the character of Nagoya Sansaburo, who was a real-life samurai who had died in 1603. The shtick here was that Okuni's voice would lure his spirit back to perform with her. There has been a lot of speculation if Okuni knew of or was in a relationship with Sansaburo, but it's also unsubstantiated. She may just have known about this guy who was famous and used him as kind of a public domain character. Now, Okuni is said to have retired from Kabuki sometime around 1610. The exact date of her death is unknown. 1613 seems to be the most commonly accepted, but it also could be as early as 1610 or as late as 1640. So it just wasn't widely reported. It's kind of assumed based on different historical accounts. In 1629, the shogunate banned onakabuki, saying women could not perform in kabuki anymore because it was corrupting the morals of the public. The performances were often very rowdy. There were, in addition to the obvious, pearl-clutching matter of the subject of the plays, there was a lot of rioting, brawling, etc. around the performances. Briefly, female actresses were replaced with boys and young men, but this was also soon banned on similar grounds, forming the long-standing style of kabuki with all adult male actors. The art form has obviously undergone its own evolution since then, but we're not necessarily here to talk about the entire history of kabuki. You can learn that up on your own time. Anyway, Okuni not only established basically a whole new traditional art form, one of Japan's big ones today, but she had other influences on Japanese arts as well. She is said to be the origin, one of the early developers of what would become the Hanamichi, the Path of Flowers, which is that runway which cuts into the audience in front of the stage, so basically forming a line where you go from backstage, stage, extending out into the audience. She used similar techniques in her performances and plays, and that's made its way into multiple forms of Japanese theater, not just kabuki. If you are interested in getting your catalyst on, or just in generally finding out more, there is a commemorative statue of Okuni by the Kamo River, which would be near where she did those original famous performances. So, in Fate, the story of Okuni is mostly the same. It expands on her time in Izumo, though, and the other vague years of her life. But yes, this section will be a little shorter than normal. Okuni is a priestess of sealing, so she's trained in sealing arts and magecraft, hence why she counts as a caster. It's not just because she does arts, haha. And basically, after an incident where her village was destroyed by an evil god, she began to wander the countryside to seal and defeat demons. Her mechanical companion is known as Zanzaburo, hence the confusion with Nagoya Sansaburo. He is a mystic code that she is made to be used as a weapon, a bodyguard, and a dance partner. Zanzaburo is said to be the body of a deceased nameless god who was a protector of the land but betrayed by his people. A story that Fate has told roughly 9 billion times, and Okuni modified his body to suit her purposes. His name is lost to time, and it is presented that this story might not even be true, so it's not really known what god Zanzaburo would be supposed to represent in that case. He's just kind of an archetype. Also, Zanzaburo is voiced by Mafia Kajita, if you didn't know, so have fun with that. Any further details about this would be getting into what's in the Guda Guda Ryoma's Close Call event we'll cover about her, where she is a major story character, so we're not going to delve too deep, but if you're interested in more backstory and lore, that will be set up during the event. She also seems to show back up in the actual story for the Kaldea Boys Collection event, which was basically a stealth Guda Guda, Kaldea and Heavy Industries, so do expect her to come back a few times. But that's really it. Otherwise, Fate is remarkably straightforward in that she is the character she's supposed to be, just with extra, urban fantasy stuff in there. Why the fox ears, or the cat ears, whatever ears they are, no idea. Not mentioned at all. Maybe it's hidden in an artist's note somewhere. Okay, so, on to mechanics. Now, Okuni is an SSR caster, with pretty high attack and lower HP as a result, going in that offensive category. She is Quick Arts Buster, which is a very unusual deck for a caster, and thus has good hit counts and very high NP gain as a result. Her NP gain, as you can see, is 0.8, which for 4-hit quick cards is really good. Her Noble Phantasm is a single target quick. It reduces the enemy's quick resistance by 20% for 3 turns first, and does bonus damage to demonic enemies based on her overcharge level. Also, it's 10 hits. Yeah, perfectly normal. So her first skill is a pretty normal burst one. It's 3 turns of 20 to 30% quick and bust her up, and 2 hits, 3 turns of evade. Pretty solid. Obviously, them all being 3 turns and multiple hits makes it work out okay if you have to use the defensive option before you're quite ready for the burst damage turn. Second skill gives her increased star absorption and 50 to 100% critical damage up for 1 turn, and also a 1 turn on hit debuff, where the targeted enemy gets 10% defense down for 3 turns when she hits them, which crits them. Friend skill is a bit of a zinger. It's going to be pretty important. It gives a targeted ally -1 turn on their cooldowns for skills, is a 30 to 50% battery, and gains 5 to 15 critical stars. Spoilers, the ally will probably be her. Her cooldowns are quite long. You're looking at 7 for the first and third skills. Her passives all have a unique quality where they each give her 4% crit damage extra, so that's, assuming that's all normally additive, that should be 12% crit up all the time. No idea why they divided it this way. But the other stat increase they do is low, so her territory and item creation only raise her arts and debuff success by 4%. Usually, with characters with only one card type that might be important, they go a little out of their way to do that better, so that is a shame that her arts card only gets a 4% enhance, but she has a really high NP gain anyway. She also does generate 2 stars per turn flat, though, so that's pretty fun. And so, Okuni is meant to be another answer to the question, how do we kill assassin bosses? This time with Quick. This has been a ongoing question FGO has tried to answer, and usually the single-target busters like Ilya and Sanzo are pretty good, but they are buster, so this may mesh better with some different supports. She's a single target, she has a very popular trait damage, which scales with Overcharge. Getting extra levels of Overcharge is very easy these days. Also, Demonic is pretty common on Assassins and Berserkers. She's got a 50% battery, she's got decent steroids for quick. With her high hit counts and NP gain, the game is probably assuming that what you're going to do is you're going to hit a boss who probably has a break bar. You're going to knock off the first break bar with an NP, then loop it back around to swat the next, and her kit should be decently good for that. Alternatively, you don't even need to bother looping the NP because she has Buster cards, and if you get those cards on the next rotation, you should be able to force some crits there as well. She has a very big crit steroid and has a weight buff, so you should be able to slam some big damage. Her Bansi even reinforces this role. It's a 15% demonic damage and 15% critical damage up for the whole team while she's on the field, so that's just something to keep in mind. Also, hidden effect. Okuni has a slightly unique quality elsewhere as well. Her append skill is Anti-Pretender, so keep that one in your back pocket. Very exotic additional damage, and could be useful. So, for team comp, Okuni is obviously meant to be your central damage dealer. This means that Vanilla Scotty is going to be high on your selection. She has the quick buffs, Okuni has the hit counts. They go together very well. Especially, like I said, if you're trying to do what I think the game wants you to do, which is loop her single target NP over and over again so that you can shave off bars. You can also consider Osakabe Hime in this equation, and the future Summer Scotty, because Okuni is basically a little bit of a Buster Quick hybrid. She has the 2 Buster cards and has her own Buster steroid. So you can use those guys to kind of bounce between the two. It's not the same as a Scato effect, but it's out there. Depending on the content you're doing, you might also consider some supporting DPS, characters who can do, AoE damage, or can do other single target damage for polishing off different waves and stuff. So you might consider, Zakak or Chiron kind of a thing to give you targeted buffs, or some upcoming AoEs like Taikobo later this year, and then next year, Friend All-Terrain buffs, Zhang Jiao. They have team-wide quick buffs, they have AoE NPs, which can scale well, and so you've got a few tricks you can pull out here. Now, since she has a 50% battery, there is a good selection of CEs that mesh with Okuni. Golden Sumo, obviously, great pick. Any of the other 50% we talk about. But, funnily enough, the event CE, Dancing with Flowers, which has just come out, has been introduced alongside her. It's actually really good for her as well. It's got a 50% NP charge when MLB, and it's bonus damage versus demonic, so it just kind of gives her perfect overlap on what you're probably using her for. Also, though, because Scotty is basically a free 100% if you're using the double Scotty system, and even if you're only using one Scotty, you still have 100% battery. You can also consider stuff like Black Grail or Heaven's Feel for just maximized damage on NP. If you've got it, consider maybe Decapitating Bunny if you need to deal with evades, invincibles, and stuff. But all in all, you have a perfectly cromulent selection of CEs. In general, I would say that Okuni is not a crazy high standout, like she's not a meta breaker unit, but if you've already been in the quick hole already, she's a decent caster to fill that slot. I believe she may be the first caster to fill that slot, period. I'd have to double check, all the years blur together. But she's definitely the first in the SSR zone to have this particular Wombo combo. And so, she still has utility there, and I think she's made to work inside of the metagame we've already constructed, but she does not alter or warp that metagame in any way, if I can put it charitably. I mean, she's a caster, she's a single target, she's got a shitload of attack. She's not bad. It's just, are there better units for this if you have them already? In terms of mechanical bonuses, Okuni's going to be a big support servant for this Guda Guda event we're doing right now, and you should also, as usual, expect to see her in future Guda Guda lineups. And so, wrapping up the other stuff, Ascension's pretty normal stuff. Honestly, you probably should have enough Magatama and mirrors built up by now for this. They've been in the game long enough, and it's not like a super excessive amount. But your skills might be a little spicier. You are going to need 24 rainbow yarns and 10 Oni lanterns, plus a few more Magatamas and gears as well. That can stack up, and as noted before, her cooldowns are pretty long, so you're going to want to upgrade skills, sadly. So do keep that in mind for future. Now, interesting enough, Okuni's had some pretty slim rate-ups, despite the fact that, like I said, she is kind of a brand new niche. Her big ones are going to be this Guda Guda, and also then there's a Kyomath banner in 2022, so that's probably something that ends up as like one of the back-to-school or Thanksgiving banners for us over here in NA. Maybe another happy fall, almost winter type thing, but, one of those bonus little semi-seasonal campaigns. That said, JP still seems determined to get more rate-ups on limited SSRs this year, so I wouldn't be shocked if she got one more this year. I think we're doing a new event in November in JP, possibly, so we don't know for sure what that's going to turn out to be like. There could be another Guda Guda, or not. Also, she's limited, so she's going to show up somewhere in all future Lucky Bag campaigns. And that's about all we got here. Sorry the video's roughly a day late. Scheduling with the weekend stuff was a bit weird, and I wasn't actually sure when the new Guda Guda was going to start. I was kind of thinking, based on what they said, it might be a little later in the week. But yeah, they kind of slipped it up on us pretty fast. But I hope you appreciate the video all the same. Now get out there and roll like nobody's watching. Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to give it a like on YouTube. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. And make sure, if you're new, you're subscribed so you can get more videos like this. And also, there's going to be another Wanted, because there's another brand new SSR in this event. So, sub now. Get access to it. And want to make sure you're catching the video when it's released. Make sure to ring the bell for notifications, even if you're already subscribed. You can also consider joining our channel membership for access to membership badges and emotes. And help support us. And also consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get episodes early at certain levels, and also participate in us recording our podcast, Let's Talk FGO, every week, where you can hear more about Okuni, more about the Guda Guda event, and plenty about Renmaru X, along with other stuff that we want to talk about during the weeketh. So check it out. And that's all from me. And speaking of patrons, before we go, I'd like to remind you, this episode is brought to you by our patrons like Andrew DeHart, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, Flatus Iceberg, Jeremy Vasquez, JDV9000, Justin the Fae, John Sandoval, Chris Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Ranger Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Sharvor, Sean Pryor, Some Guy Named Bob, and Varen the Crow. If you like what you do want to see more, consider supporting us on Patreon, just like that, and you can join those names. Thanks for your support, everybody.